I've seen a lot of praise for the ACMs and the inclusion, diversity, and overall exceptional presentation of an awards show. I, of course, did not partake because, well, no one's paying me to anymore. I want to remind everyone of one thing, and this isn't beating a dead horse's mullet. He apologized. Believe me, I have no beef with the man. But when Morgan Wallen said the N-word, country radio responded swiftly the way that made me wish for just a blip I was back in, even though I probably wouldn't have been for very long. But when Morgan Wallen said the N-word and country radio responded appropriately, country radio listeners responded swiftly, deplorably, and in a way that reminded me why I walked away from catering to 10th grade intellects. He said the word. The industry backed off. The fans made his sales skyrocket. Think about that. Millions of people bought his music because he said the N-word. They streamed him, downloaded him, paid the record label that suspended him, and sent his figures to record-breaking heights. His album topped the charts because he said the N-word, and only because he said the N-word. That is a majority of the country music audience. I should know. I've programmed country radio stations for about 15 years. And I applaud the industry for standing up and progressing. It's way too little, way too late in my opinion, but at least the industry is trying to address some of its own toxicities. But my question is, what does country radio, country music, do with the large chunk of their fan base that they know is toxic, racist, and a stain on our culture? When I worked for country radio stations, each and every one I worked at devalued the black community, the black audience. In fact, one company that isn't around anymore devalued the black audience so much they couldn't sell ads on the station because, and I quote, businesses didn't want that audience in their stores because they had to keep their eyes on them the whole time. That was said to me by a superior in a professional environment. What does the country format do now that their audience are the ones people don't want in their businesses? Now that their audience are the ones we're having to watch to see if they're going to blow us all to smithereens? What does the industry of wholesome family values do now that their audience has become the least desirable for quality advertisers? I would think eventually a truck brand might actually start to cringe knowing they're the brand most white supremacists would choose if they could afford one. Rarely do corporations really care about that sort of values over profit paradigm, but we can. Now, I suppose the biggest question might be, if knowing your music format is the #1 choice for white supremacists, what can you do to affect change at the local level? Now, I might argue it's past the tipping point. That change should have come decades ago. And today, if they can figure out how, they'll just stream their country music alongside their Alex Jones. How will country radio thrive without that segment of their listener base? Or do they choose to play it safe and keep them? Does it bother anybody that white supremacists choose their product over others? You can take out all the Morgan Wallen stuff and substitute any other music format into this discussion. Rock, classic rock, oldies. Look, country music isn't alone in enabling the toxic aspects of the culture it serves, but country music could have done better. Country music should have done better all along. But instead, country music was too busy trying to create the next blonde bombshell to replace the Dixie Chicks because they bowed down to slobbering, uneducated mouth breathers. The format suffered without the Dixie Chicks. And country music didn't address their racist audience who were all too comfortable blaming the Muslim terrorists for all their problems. And then that Muslim Kenyan president. The country music was too busy enabling alcoholism, playing to stereotypes, and cashing checks from pandering to the most easily manipulatable and gullible base in America. Country radio could have stood for something when it could have mattered. Now, I'm afraid it's just lost to the current. The opportunity to affect that change for radio is past. By the time we're really making progress in the discussion, we got a break for 8 minutes of commercials. Look, I respect people still in the trenches, fighting the fight, serving communities on their airwaves. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I hope somebody in the format is brilliant enough to find a way to address this. I know it's been discussed in professional forums to some degree, but it's time to stop talking and start acting. What does country music do with this audience? And what do we do with country music?